Greetings, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Rolling Stories. I'm your host, Adrian Tan, and today we are embarking on a journey into the ever-evolving world of human resources, specifically focusing on a role that's gaining significant traction, the HR business partner, or HRBP for short. For many, the inner workings of HRBP remain shrouded in mystery. But fear not, because today we have the perfect guide to shed light on this fascinating position. Joining me today is Mohamed Al Zarooni, the esteemed Senior VP and Country HR Officer at Citi. With his vast experience and expertise, Zarooni will help us demystify the HRBP role, revealing its true potential and impact in organizations. So get ready to unlock the secrets of HRBP role and discover its immense value for both individuals and organizations. Now, hi Zarooni, welcome to the show.
Hi Adrian, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to give you my insights on everything HRBP related.
Let's go to the key fundamental. What exactly is HR business partner? This is a question that, to be honest, in my circle of HR community, many people still cannot tell the difference between a HRBP or a HR manager. To some of them, HRBP is just a fancy or sexier name for the HR manager or the traditional HR manager. So help us distill it down to a layman. What's the difference between a HRBP and a traditional HR role?
Sure. So an HRBP is an HR generalist. HRBP is the jack of all trades, probably master of none, and has a very strategic impact on every department in HR. So they have a hand in everything that is talent acquisition related, employee relations, performance management, talent management, comp and ben. So their advisory skills are, suited to all these wider HR components. So in my view, the HRBP is a very, very strategic role in every business.
But having said that, I also hear from some others that HRBP's role could be very administrative in nature. Because if we were to compare HRVP versus HRBP, we also will come across a situation where each HRBP in different company seem to be focusing on different area. Would you be able to shed some light on this?
Yes, that's true. There's a very big misconception on how some organizations around the whole world use the HRBPs and the term of HRBPs. So because the HRBP is a very generalist role, there's an expectation that they take care of everything, not just strategic, but tactical. So they are the person that will do the admin. They are the person who will go and answer all queries for each businesses or whichever line they're focused on. And that can be a huge misconception. Like I said, the HRBP role is very focused on the strategic advisory for the HR department, more like an HR spokesperson, the master of all trades, rather than running around and doing a lot of admin work. So what happens and how HRBPs succeed is very dependent on the model of each HR in the organizations. They have to have a backup model for this person in the role to thrive as an HRBP strategically.
So hearing from you, it seems like having too much administrative weightage on a HRBP does not seem to be entirely correct. It seems to be a misallocation of resources. In that case, why does it even happen? Is it company misconstrued the purpose of the role, or is it more of a HRBP being more comfortable in the administrative function, hence the weightage on admin work?
No, so this goes down to the model of the HR department actually, and that is the brains behind how an HRBP can thrive as an actual HRBP or be misconstrued as an admin, a high-end admin person. So in each model in HR, each center of excellence, talent acquisition, HR service delivery, employee relations, talent development have to have their own people. And then as an advisory person, HRBP will come and advise those centers of excellence on how to proceed. Now, if those departments, if the HR business partner is not backed up by those centers of excellence, this is where the HRBP can get confused into everyday BAUs from the, in the centers of excellence. You might have, and it depends how they look at it. So an HRBP might be ending up, getting or printing documents and filling out forms for other employees in the company because the role and their backbone is not defined probably by the centers of excellence. So each model and each company should have their centers of excellence well defined in order for the HRBP, who essentially is an advisor for HR and the spokesperson for HR outside HR for other departments within the company. So it really depends. The true success of an HRBP depends on the model of each HR organization.
It sounds to me there has to be a pre-existing support system
Yes.
for the HRBP to actually strive in a strategic role. We can touch a bit on that later. Maybe we can help us to understand, because it's very easy for us to say, oh, a role has to be strategic and all that. What are some concrete examples of a high-functioning HRBP that can truly add value to our business? Is there a case study that you can share?
Yes. So a true HRBP is able to develop a people strategy, not necessarily for HR, coming from HR, working with the centers of excellence, and then delivering it to the business they're taking care of. So if an HRBP is working in a bank, for example, and that HRBP is taking care of the global support function, so internal audit, finance, whatever you got, legal departments, if there's an HRBP handling those departments, he or she needs to develop the people strategy for those departments and break it down into different pillars. So people strategy, which focuses on org structures, culture and conduct, performance management, employee relations. And that HRBP needs to know what the business needs strategically in order to fill those pillars to get them up the curve. So that is essentially a high-end role of the HRBP. They need to be able to develop a people strategy or plan for the department they're working. It needs them to work with their centers of excellence in HR. They need to, and the centers of excellence needs to look at that HRBP and say, okay, I need you to be the spokesperson and take our input and make it into a strategy. That is the essential role of an HRBP.
Which obviously can only be made possible if they are not being bogged down by administrative work.
Exactly.
And going to your earlier point where there has to be a support system in order for a HRBP to flourish in the best context of their role. I'm just wondering, so for people who may be out there looking to become HRBP, what are some of the questions they may like to ask during the job interview to ensure that this company that they're about to join, actually has the right support structure so that they can truly perform the role of a HRBP and not be, like you said, a glorified administrator?
Excellent. So the question I would first ask if I was to interview for HRBP is, what does your HR service delivery team do? Service delivery team are the people who do the payroll, the queries, all the paperwork in the back end, such as the leave request, redundancy letters, the resignation letters online, the systems people, the solution hub. Now that department is the backbone of an HRBP. Now without that department functioning as it's supposed to be, the HRBP can easily get lost in admin work. So the first question I would ask is, what are your pillars of HR and how systematic or advanced is your HR service solution team? Very critical to an HRBP role. Once you have that tackled, everything is streamlined.
I see. And how about for people who may aspire to become a HRBP? So for maybe traditional HR executive or someone who is doing other function of HR, or maybe even to the extent of outside of the HR spectrum, what are some of the important skill set and experience that you believe one person should have as a prerequisite for him or her to seriously explore a career in HRBP?
Stakeholder management is the key for the role. How a person is able to navigate and maneuver between different stakeholders, whether in HR or in other businesses. It's very key for the HRBP to have relationship manager skills. How is the HRBP? Because the HRBP is a role where they are going to get in a lot of conflict between the business and HR. And the person needs to have the skill set to navigate between two and make sure that everything is streamlined as per policy and also advised in the right way on all aspects HR, whether it's having difficult conversations about restructuring, difficult conversations about hiring the right person in the role, or when it comes to, for example, talent and diversity and inclusion. Person who sits in the HRBP role needs to have that stakeholder management skill set. And it also goes down to character. So character and how the personality of that HRBP is very important and integral to success. You have to be able to deal with conflict and difficult situations. So that is key, a key skill set.
Right. Yes, I can imagine when you talk about stakeholders management, definitely the first thing that comes to my mind is obviously conflict, because people would have disagreement. I want this, she wants that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to make things meet in the middle. And of course, with that, then what are some of the ways for someone to pick this up as a skill set? So for instance, let's say I've been a HR administrator for longest time of my life. I don't really speak with people. How does one acquire experience in stakeholder management in order to clear the hurdle to truly step into or to truly consider a role in HRBP?
You'll have to, depending on the personality, you'll have to come out of your comfort zone in order to be an HRBP. You'll have to go and meet people at work, your stakeholders, engage as much as possible, get yourself familiarized, first of all, with the policies and procedures of HR, very important. That document, it's very important to know exactly how HR is running, and your communication skills need to be brushed up. There are a lot of HRBPs who might have an introverted personality. The test over there to become a successful HRBP, and from there, successful CHRO as you grow, is to come out of your comfort zone and engage as much as possible with the business and speak to as many people as possible and enlighten which will allow you to improve yourself as a relationship manager and also give information that is valuable to each person. So I would say meet as much as people as possible in the organization you're in. Very important.
It also sounds to me an extrovert likely would be able to flourish more easily in a role like that.
Yes, an extrovert has the advantage definitely to become an HRBP. But see, with extroverts is another thing. You'll have to also know when to speak and how to sort of slow down and be more tactful. Yeah. But yes, being an extrovert and being socially comfortable in your skin is very important, because perception is everything as an HRBP. If you're going to go around and be a spokesperson and a generalist to your HR department for other businesses, it's very key that you gain that trust with your advisory skills from your stakeholders. They can depend on you. You're the person who knows all the policies and procedures and can advise on different departments within HR for the businesses. So it's very key to be a bit out there.
So are there any other common or biggest misconception that you encountered about the HRBP role, besides, of course, the administrative mishandling? And also, how do you think we can educate HR professionals as well as business leaders about HRBP's true potential?
Yeah, so what happens with HRBPs often is they get accountable for things they're not accountable for. Because they're very involved in the HR space, it becomes very easy for businesses to make the HRBP accountable for actions that are usually have a different accountability. So if, for example, I'm speaking on behalf of talent acquisition, it's very easy for that HRBP to be caught in that space where their role is to advise, but then they get mistaken for being responsible to action that center of excellence responsibility. So the HRBP is not responsible for, say, scheduling an interview or finding candidates. It's actually talent acquisition. But what happens often is the HRBP can get blamed for the else's action. So it's very important for the HRBP as they grow into their career. Handhold is fine, but make sure you give the accountability to the right people and explain that from the onset.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. And as we continue to see evolution in the role of work, do you foresee the role of HRBP evolving in the near future?
I do see it evolving. I do see HRBPs becoming a focal point, but they're also the other thing that we have to be wary of is HRBPs can be also easily duplicated with other roles. This is where the model comes into play, right? So there are questions, in the future that might come. Why is there an HR manager and an HRBP when both do similar roles? Why is there a head of HRBPs and a CHRO at the same time? There can be a clash. So that's why I'm going to go back to the earlier points I was making. The HR model is integral to the HRBP and the success of it. So again, depends how companies are modeled. It's very easy for HRBPs to be lost and have a duplication, which might confuse businesses that they're handling as to, okay, who do I go to? Why is there an HR head for HRBPs and why is there an HR director? Again, it's very confusing. Then you'll have a goal clash, even within the center of excellence. So yeah, that is key for future development of the HRBP role. Very dependent on the model, in my opinion.
Right. So I guess knowing the exact model perhaps is also something that the HRBP who are looking to join a new role to look out for within an organization, because I would imagine the model would dictate the support system and it will dictate so many things else. So whether you are going into a gold mine or versus a brick wall, it really depends on the HR model that is already pre-existing and big practice within the organization.
In order for the HRBP to add value, model has to be successful and correct, and the business that they handle need to understand that the point of contact is the HRBP. Otherwise, you're going to have several point of contacts where everyone's going to get lost, and it can become very messy with the wrong model. That's what I'm saying.
So for companies who are still messing this up, what words or advice do you have for them?
Streamline your centers of excellence. Get that clear. Get your pillars of each HR center of excellence clear, and let the HRBP take each knowledge from each center of excellence and let them thrive with it. They are the spokesperson. They are the generalists. They are the advisors, and you need advisors for each company. Otherwise it becomes the HRBP are the main people who bring everyone together and allow business centers of excellence and the business to bridge the gap between each other. That's how I would say get the model right and ensure that the HRBP fly with it.
I love that. Get the model right and allow the HRBP to fly with it. So thank you so much for sharing with us your take, your insights, and as well as your opinions on HRBP. But before we let you go, we have a new segment. This is a rapid fire round, something new that we are introducing. So I guess in a way, we also expect rapid responses, short answers from you as well. So we're just going to go through 5 of them and just let us know whatever that comes to your mind.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the first one, work from home or work from office?
Work from the office.
Okay, second question. In one word, describe your leadership philosophy.
Lead by example.
Great. What's the best HR advice you have ever received or given?
Be accountable for what you do.
And what is one HR trend or innovation, upcoming trend or innovation that excites you the most?
I think the digitization of HR.
And lastly, I believe it might already be mentioned earlier on, what's the most common HR myth or misconception that you want to debunk?
HRBP are glorified admin.
I knew that. Thank you so much, Zarooni, for coming onto the show. Lovely speaking with you. And we hope our listeners who are aspiring HRBP, existing HRBP, or wherever you are on your HR journey, I hope you get to learn something from us today. And for people who may be keen to reach out to you and perhaps to hear more of your story as well as your insights, where can they go to?
Perfect. They can find me on LinkedIn. It's at Mohamed Al Zarooni over there.
Great. Put this into the show notes. Once again, Zarooni, thank you so much for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much.